The new GCSEs mean students have to memorise far more content than before. And it's a double whammy. There's more content in the specifications, and the exams all happen in a lump at the end of the course. That's 2 or even 3 years of content in a single day. And lots of different subjects all at the same time. It seems pretty obvious that, faced with this challenge, students would use the most effective memorisation techniques as part of their revision, and would spread out the memorisation process over the full length of their GCSEs. So what do? Well, most students try to memorise by reading mountains of written content and notes in the few months before their exams, and hope it all sticks. And yet decades of memory research shows that this is a remarkably slow and ineffective way of learning. So, what does the science say they should be doing to optimise their recall? Well, here are 3 things that are scientifically proven to work. First, there's elaborate encoding. Elaborate encoding means we are far better at remembering things if we can relate them in our minds to things that we already know. Memory champions use a range of techniques to let them transform huge amounts of content into images. This is called visualization, and it's a particularly powerful form of encoding. And it's very well established. One technique you may have heard of is the memory palace, and that was invented by the ancient Greek poet Simonides around 500 BC. Mojo uses elaborate encoding, creating striking visual substitutions for the vocabulary and facts that students need to recall, and then linking them into crazy stories. Why crazy? Well, unusual things leap out at us. You may drive past dozens of cyclists every day barely noticing them, but you'll remember if you go past just one on a penny farthing. So that's elaborate encoding. The next technique is called choreographed testing. It turns out the best way to build and strengthen the memory connections in your brain is to use them to recall facts. Notice the emphasis here. It's not just putting the facts in your head that builds memories. The important element is making your brain go through the process of recalling them, getting them back out. Regular testing is the best way to make this happen, and that's what you get with Mojo. We provide quizzes and worksheets with every topic to force students to recall the content we've just covered. Even if the questions seem trivial at times, the action of making your brain dig up and present the answers strengthens those vital synaptic connections. Which brings us nicely to the third technique, spaced repetition. We all know that our memories will fade over time. In fact, over 100 years ago, German psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus first came up with the forgetting curve, which shows the rate at which memory information is lost. He suggested that one day after learning something new, we forget over half the information, and it's all downhill from there. That's no good if you want to memorise something in year 10 and then record it in your GCSE exams at the end of year 11. You need to get this content into your long-term memory. That's where spaced repetition comes in. Testing has shown that repeating the memorisation process at particular intervals will encourage your brain to store content in the long-term memory. The ideal intervals for long-term memory are right after you first learn it, which Mojo covers with the quizzes and worksheets. Then it's 1 day later, 1 week, 1 month, and finally 3 months later. Guess what? Mojo sends you reminders at exactly those intervals. When you get one, just rewatch the video and redo the quiz and worksheet to optimise that beautiful long-term memory you've been carrying around, mostly unused, since the day you were born. And that's the science behind Mojo. But while you're here, there are a couple of things that is worth knowing, and they're both about when to start studying each Mojo topic. The first is actually related to elaborate encoding. It turns out that it's far easier to memorise something that you already understand. So, Mojo recommends you start memorising a Mojo topic after you have been taught it at school. Your brain will find it so much easier. The second idea deals with how Mojo will help you plan and use your time more effectively. You see, Mojo fires up your long-term memory, so you can memorise content in year 9 or year 10 and find it easy to recall at the end of year 11. So how about this for a revision plan? Don't leave it to year 11. Instead, start to use each Mojo topic as soon as you've studied it in school. Get it locked away in your long-term memory and move confidently onto the next topic, knowing that you're on top of the first one. Imagine, by the end of year 10, instead of feeling stressed by the amount of content that you've got to revise, feel positive and empowered by the fact that your brain is more than up to the task of remembering that and everything you're going to cover in year 11. How does that sound? And all this is based on thinking that started over 2,500 years ago. The exact opposite of rocket science. So go on, just use your imagination.